Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Sunbelt Conference Media Football Coaches Teleconference. Thank you very much for joining us. We are now joined with Shawn the head coach of App State. If you have a question for Coach Clark, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Another great road victory for us. I was proud of where our players played. We went down there and play a good ULM opponent, Coach Viator, a guy I have a lot of respect for. But overall, I was very pleased. Thought we played hard, play our brand of football, and now we're moving on to Texas State.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. You pretty much took the second half kickoff, got a score, and had the game pretty much under control at that point. What did you like about seeing your team on Saturday?
Well, I thought we came out the first half and play our brand of football, which was we're going to run the football and throw some downfield shots. And on defense, I thought we played fast. In the last 2 weeks, we really played fast on defense, and I was very pleased with special teams this week. It's the first time we won the special teams battle all year long. But overall, I thought we just played with a lot of team speed, but again, in saying that, we have a lot to improve on.
I was going to ask you about the special teams. Looks like a couple of times you wound up with some short fields. I know you did have a couple 80-yard drives, but you also had a couple that you were able to cash in on.
Yeah, I think that starts with our defense. We were able to pin them down there a couple of times, and when they pumped, we got a short field. But, again, I think Coach Haynes and his special team staff have done a great job all year. Finally, their hard work's paid off, and we won the battle this week.
You had two 100-yard rushers in the game, and you said you want to run the ball first, but I know you had to be pleased with the way you had 100-yard rushing games, but your guys didn't have a lot of carries. They were able to stay fresh, it looked like, on the numbers.
Well, we have a good stable of running backs here at App, and this week was Marcus Williams Jr. He was over 100, and I'm very proud of that kid. The last couple of weeks he hasn't got the carries he wanted, and he came back and had a great week of practice, and he had 108 yards possibly. Then we ran the quarterback a little bit more this week, and Zach Thomas hit a career high running the ball. But again, every week is probably going to be something different, getting more carries, but we're going to go with the hot hand to whoever that is.
What's your impressions of Texas State after getting a chance to see them this past weekend?
I had a chance to watch them last night, early this morning. I think Coach Spavital's done a great job. They're night and day from what they were when he first got there, and I think it's a compliment to him and his staff, the way they've really developed their program. They got a very good quarterback, a good running back, some dynamite receivers, and on defense, I think they're playing very sound. Just the way they run the football, it's definitely different than it was last year.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. That's all the questions we have for today. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Remember, we can stand by. We'll place someone on a brief hold. We'll be back with Jamey Chadwell of Coastal Carolina here at 10:37 Central, 11:37 Eastern. Please stand by. Thank you for holding, everybody. We're now joined with Jamey Chadwell, the head coach of Coastal Carolina. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Get *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with a opening statement?
Yes. I thought our team played our most complete game this past weekend. All three phases, we did a really good job. I thought our defense was outstanding, holding a potent, Georgia State offense to 0 points. I thought we handled that game being away. I thought we handled it really well, and we're looking forward to being back home, getting to play in front of home fans. We got a really tough, physical South Alabama team coming in that's tied for first in the West. They're playing well. Coach Campbell does a good job with those guys, and so but thankful for the victory we had last week, and looking forward to get back out there again this Saturday.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Alan Blondin with the Sun News. Please go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Coach. With all you guys have had a ton of attention on you the last 2 weeks, including that appearance on ESPN Game Day. this past weekend. I mean, are you surprised at all that your team seems to thrive with the added attention, looking at how they played this past weekend?
Well, we've got a mature group. We've had a lot of guys that are fifth-year seniors that got here in 16, and the part of the transition, and we've not had any attention on us for the last 4 years except for bad attention. So I think they're actually enjoying it, and I think when you get told for so long you're not very good, you take that personal, and I think our guys are appreciative of attention that we're getting, being ranked, et cetera, but they set their mind that they want to accomplish something, and I think that's where they're at right now, and no matter what's happening on the outside, they've really done a good job of keeping our team just locked in on trying to be in the moment. And you worry about it as a coach because we are getting more and more attention. But so far, so good. They've handled everything that's been thrown their way.
Yeah, like you said, not even handled. I mean, it seems like they even enjoy it. But as far as Grayson goes, he went into the game a little banged up. Did he come through the game pretty good? And is there any question that he would play this weekend?
No, he's expected to play again. He came through, pretty good. He got hit again there on one play, but I don't think it was anything too serious there. So he's expected to play again this Saturday. Practiced yesterday, so we're expecting him to be ready to go.
All right, and just I guess how proud of you are you of the team and what you guys have accomplished this year, getting the number 15 in the country, 6-0 start, and it's been a dream year so far.
Well, just the 15 and all that. That's great. Highest in the Sun Belt history. I think that's a pretty cool deal. But really, for us to be, bowl eligible, I know that was a goal of this football team. And to be able to do that, through 6 games, I'm proud of the guys for that. That was one goal that I know they wanted to try to get accomplished, and they did. So, I'm thankful that we're there already. But when you get a taste of success, you want to keep it going. You just don't want to settle at that. So I think this team's got a good mindset from that. Hopefully, we'll continue to push forward and want to get better and better and see how high we can get.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Alan.
All right, thank you, Alan. Our next question is coming from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. You mentioned goals going into this year, and obviously bowl eligibility, being one of them. But do you sort of, with everything that's happened, do you sort of reevaluate your goals and look at some things that, is it too early to start looking at a goal that you could potentially be, first Sun Belt team to accomplish an awful lot of things in the postseason?
Well, we don't truthfully have a lot of goals, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously we wanted to get to a bowl, but more the thing we really focus on is can we play our best each week, and if we do that, does that give us a chance to accomplish some great things? And so instead of laying out exactly, hey, we want to do this, we really try to put it back more on what we have to do to get there. And our guys are smart enough to realize that, there's a lot of opportunities potentially out there that could happen, but that's a could happen, and that's sort of out of our control. What we do control is how well we play each week. And so I just let that sort of go unspoken. Guys they're smart enough to figure those things out. We don't need to put any added things on there because I don't want anything to take away from what we have to do each week. When you start looking about things down the path, so to speak, and you lose sight of what got you to that point. And that's really, as from a coach from standpoint, how I try to handle my things here in our team and our program.
Your offense has gotten a lot of exposure and accolades and so forth this year, but defensively this past week, 5 first downs allowed against a pretty explosive offensive team. How does that performance last Saturday rank with defenses that, not this year, but the defenses you've been around throughout your career?
Well, Coach Staggs, our D coordinator, we've been together, a bunch of different stops, and he's been able to put together some really good defenses. And we've had some really good days at a lot of places. But I couldn't tell you one off the top of my head that was a complete and total, domination the way our defense played Saturday. We played good defense, but from just the opening drive there, they got down into field goal range, and they missed the field goal. Besides that, I think they only crossed the 50 one time the rest of the game there. And
yeah,
so,
I think so.
And it was, and they had a great plan and they executed it. And so, if there was a better one, I can't remember it, because that one was a pretty good one. And to come against a team that's obviously really good offensively, they didn't have a good day. That happens on offense sometimes. But for none of us expected our guys to go in there and shut them out. But our defense had a good plan, and they got it done.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, stand by. We'll be joined with Steve Campbell of South Alabama here shortly. Please stand by. And we're joined now with Steve Campbell, head coach of South Alabama. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yep, good morning. Obviously, we're coming off of a disappointing loss at Georgia Southern. I thought our kids played extremely hard. We were a couple of plays away from going on the road and getting another conference victory. That one was disappointing, but we've returned to the practice field on Sunday evening and had a good night last night. Looking forward to preparing for an outstanding Coastal Carolina team that's coming off of a very impressive win against a good Georgia State team. So we've got our work cut out for us, but we're looking forward to the challenge.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Alan Blondin with the Sun News. Please go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, hey, Coach. You guys have had just the one clunker this year against UAB. 3 wins, a couple real close losses. Are you happy with the consistency from the team this year compared to last?
Yeah, I mean the guys are playing extremely hard, and we had the game against UAB. UAB's a good football team. Give them all the credit in the world, and they deserve that. And they got after us, and we really didn't have we didn't have I didn't prepare the guys the way that we needed to that week, and we had a couple of issues going on with COVID and this, that, and the other, and hurricane and all. But that's regardless. I thought the guys had bounced back really well after our little pause and got 2 conference wins, and we went into the fourth quarter with a lead this past week. We just weren't able to finish it, and it's our job as coaches to put our guys in the position to go ahead and win those games. And the guys have played extremely hard. I've been really, really pleased with their effort and pleased with the progress that we've made. Now that we have not always seen the results on the field, but we are making progress, and we're looking forward to playing a really good Coastal Carolina team this week, getting prepared and going up there and giving ourselves a good opportunity to win this game against an outstanding, a top 15 team in the country. So I like the way that the guys have progressed and the improvements that we're making, and now it's time to let it show on the field.
Yeah, with you mentioned Coastal's number 15 ranking, and they were chosen to pick to finish last by the coaches in the league in the preseason. Do you think they've caught some people by surprise with how good they've become in such a short time?
Maybe some. They didn't catch me. I mean, I've known Coach Chadwell for years and knew that that he'd do an outstanding job there, and I know that they've got great players, and all you got to do is put on the film. You can see they've got a lot of talent. They're a very well coached football team, so I'm not surprised at all that they've got an outstanding football team.
All right, Coach, and lastly for me, can you speak to Desmond Trotter's improvement this season as a sophomore, and do you have confidence in both of your quarterbacks with Chance's performances and his opportunities?
Yeah, we do. I like both quarterbacks, and they've both done a lot of good things. And Desmond, is continuing to improve and get better each week, and has put together, some really good games for us this year. And as he gains more and more experience and gets more snaps under his belt, I think he'll continue to improve. I think he's got a really high upside. He's a student of the game, and I think he's been doing a good job of running the offense. And we've got a lot of confidence in Chance. When Desmond was down, Chance came in and did a lot of good things for us, and we've got confidence in him as well.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alan, and thank you, Coach. That's all the time we have for you today. We do appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Thank you. And we're now joined with Jake Spavital, the head coach of Texas State. If you have a question for Coach Spav, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, thanks, Travis. Just kind of going back on Saturday, what an up and down game that was. Pretty sloppy, with just having 7 turnovers in general in that game. But, you start off the game and you go down 14-0 pretty quickly within really the first 4 minutes of the first quarter. And then you battle your way back and you're up 21-14 in the second quarter. And then when the half ends, it's 34-21. So a lot of, momentum swings, by both teams. And we didn't really overcome anything in the second half, But, the thing that we talk about as a program here is we're playing hard. And, we're playing hard and we're showing up every single day and we're fighting. And once we continue to play with that effort and that energy, and we clean up our consistency on the field. That's the things that have been magnified the most is our inconsistencies on the field. And, we do have a young team. We got a young quarterback that, threw the 3 interceptions in this game that, a lot of them that he wished he probably had back. But, the kid's playing with great effort and he's giving everything he's got. He's just got to understand that he's got to minimize his mistakes and move on to the next play. And I think once we start to just learn from those mistakes and move forward, eventually this ball's going to start bouncing our way. But, just pleased with, it's not the results that we want, but we are getting better regardless of, what the record says. But, we're not happy with the results, but we need to keep improving, not panic, stay the course, and just continue to put our head down and work. So, questions?
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Chris Danini with The Athletic. Please go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Jake, how's it going?
What's going on, Chris?
Hey, I'm writing a story about BYU, and I know you played them a couple weeks ago. Was there something is there something they do that may be better than people even realize? Obviously, they're undefeated and playing well, but was there anything they did that surprised you about how good they were at an aspect?
The thing that I told our team as well is, that they're a very experienced team. There's a lot of guys on that defense and even on the offensive side that have played over 40 games of experience. And that's kind of my message with the team is that you got to continually, work and show up. And they've gone through their highs and lows, and they went through a 4-7 season in 2017 and a 7-6 and a 7-6 season and the 18-19 season. Now they put it all together, and they've played a lot of ball together. They've they've matured, they've learned from their mistakes, they've grown together, they've hit the adversity, and they're putting it all together. And I think a lot has to do with that quarterback as well. I think what they do on defense is very sound. They make you screw the game up. They're going to keep it in front of you. They're going to play hard. Their defensive front is very physical and very big, and they play hard. They play the way the game should be played. They play very hard and they play sound. But what happens is that quarterback is so dynamic in terms of he can do really anything. He can do the air raid, get in the gun and shotgun, go empty, spread it around, get the ball in and out of his hands, and then he can transition into some QB run game to your play action, naked and bootlegs out of your 11 personnel and your 12 personnel stuff, and then he can get under center and do pro style power run game with deep play action. So that's what makes him tough is how multiple it is and how that quarterback can efficiently do all of it. So it's a pretty impressive team.
Mm-hmm. And how good is that offensive line? I know they're huge.
Oh man, they're. I looked out there and they looked like they're about a foot taller than every single one of our defensive linemen. But they're very talented, very big. You know, they don't do much. Like, they keep it very simple for them. They're not doing a bunch of gas scheme. They get really good at running inside zone and outside zone, and they have a bunch of trickery that they do that it kind of forces you to base it all up. But I think where you look at the trenches of that team, of, you know, just their D-line and their offensive line, you know, that's probably the main reason why they're having the most success, is because they're just they're big, physical guys.
Appreciate it, Jake. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it, Chris.
All right, thanks, Chris. Our next questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. You talked about consistency, and I think most people equate that with offensive consistency. But your defense, you forced 4 turnovers. Louisiana hadn't lost a fumble all year, and you got 3 of them. But then you turn right around, and they're all of a sudden they're driving down, trying to score one more time. Is that sort of the consistency that you're looking at to try to just prevent the normal play and not, you know, just try to concentrate on forcing the turnover?
Yeah, and I think, like, throughout the course of this whole year, each position group has kind of had its ups and downs. Like, you know, like you go to, like, the South Alabama game, our quarterback played really well, but, you know, our receivers were struggling and had a lot of, you know, crucial drops, and, you know, the consistency there, you know. And then you go to the next week and you're playing BYU, and we had a lot of issues with blocking them, you know. So, like, our offensive line took the hits in that game, you know. And then you go into this last game, and our quarterback, who's been pretty good at, you know, in the past few games, not turn the ball over, throws 3 pretty important picks. And that's where I want to see the consistency improve across the board with all position groups, where we put together a complete game where we're all playing efficient football in all of our positions, you know. Because you look at the game, you know, we ended up having 4 turnovers, and we ended up capitalizing on them pretty well. But, like, we also turned the ball over 3 times, and they had 3 touchdowns off of it. So the one is just, you know, we got to recognize momentum swings and how important, you know, it's, you know, turnovers are a part of the game, but it's just what you do with them or after one occurs. But, you know, when you go down to where I'm kind of really magnifying the issues at hand right now, is that our consistency on offense, we need to improve tremendously.
Coastal's having a great year, but Appalachian State pretty much is still the gold standard in this league. What do you see from them, from what you've seen this year? Are they doing anything different, or is it, you know, the same Mountaineers?
Yeah, I think they're the same Mountaineers. You know, they're a tough, gritty team. You know, they're going to make you work for everything. It's going to be a very physical game. They're going to run the football. They're going to try to hand it off 50 times a game, and they're going to try to throw it over the top of your head. And you know, and on defense, they're going to be extremely physical and disruptive as they can up front. And, you know, they're going to keep it simple in the back end because they have a lot of trust in their DBs. You know, it's a talented team, and you know, you look at their quarterback, who's, you know, the preseason player of the year, and what he's done there last year, and just, you know, like, he's got that thing rolling and clicking right now. And you know, like, that at the beginning, you know, they didn't have much practice time, and, you know, just talking with Coach Clark, and now they seem like they're in a pretty good rhythm, and they're playing at an extremely high level.
Appreciate it, Coach.
I appreciate it, Dan.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time.
All right, appreciate it. I'll talk soon.
Thank you. And we are now joined with Chad Lunsford, the head coach of Georgia Southern. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you very much for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Yeah, no problem. Good to get a victory last week against a tough South Alabama team Thursday night. You know, it was a game that went full 4 quarters, and proud of our guys, how they finished. You know, being able to pull that win out and, you know, get some momentum going into this week. Got a tough game coming up against Troy this weekend at home. You know, looking forward to that challenge and looking forward to get started with it.
All right, thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. Your team had to rally once again. What does that say for your team they were able to play the way they did in the second half?
You know, I think it says a lot for our guys. They never give up. They never quit. They keep playing. I didn't feel like we finished the week before like we should have against Coastal. And, you know, the guys took that as a challenge this week to come out and try to play a full 4 quarters. I do think we left some points on the board, on the field, and not get them on the board early on in that game with a holding penalty down close and then a snap over the head of the quarterback that could have, got us in the lead and could have pulled away. Obviously, South Alabama played really hard and good, and so I can't take anything away from that. But I do like the fact that our guys really came out and finished that fourth quarter with 2 touchdowns and not giving up any points.
There's always a lot of notoriety for your offense, being as unique as it is, but your defense came up with a big play at the end, and they've played pretty well now from looking at the numbers over the last 3 weeks. How happy are you with the play on that side of the ball?
I'm really happy. I think our defense is really growing and continuing to get better. This will be a big challenge this week. Last year Troy pretty much got after us and did whatever they wanted to, throwing and running, put up a lot of yards, put up a lot of points. And so we'll see how much our defense has grown. But I am proud of where they've come from the first game and, look forward to the challenge this week.
What are the particular challenges that Troy gives you?
Well, they've got experienced guys on offense, and they're very explosive. The up-tempo piece is something that, is hard to simulate, especially because we're not that. That's not what we do. So we got to get creative this week and make sure our defense gets challenged with tempo. Troy obviously will run the ball, loves to pass, and they're going to pass to set up the run. But they got a lot of playmakers, and both quarterbacks have shown that they can really run the offense, and so I think that's the big challenge about it. And if you move to their defense, they're a very multiple front team. They have a versatile personnel, so they can jump in and out of different fronts, which is always a challenge for us offensively when teams jump in and out of things. And then they're athletic people that run to the ball, very well coached. And so, again, big challenge for us. This is going to be the biggest game for us of the year because it's the next one.
How much of an advantage is to you guys you're playing now for your last 5 conference games at home?
I think that matters, because there's always, a comfortableness at home. You don't have to get caught up in the travel piece. You don't have to get caught up in whether it's a late game, early game, and being a different routine on the road. And then obviously we've got a really good home record, and and that's something that our guys take pride in. So, I do think that's an advantage for us because I think this is a tough place for an opponent to come play. But again, it'll be about us going out with the right frame of mind and executing because Troy's a good football team.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. Do appreciate your time today.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
All right. If everyone would please take a brief hold here. We'll be back in about 3 minutes with Blake Anderson of Arkansas State. So please stand by. All right, thank you for holding, everybody. We're now joined with Blake Anderson, the head coach of Arkansas State. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Another frustrating loss. Dug ourselves a hole here in the conference play early, and frustrating that we felt like we had good preparation during the week. Guys' energy level at practice, competitive practices, really, limited mistakes, but struggling to get that to the field, and it showed obviously in the first half. We couldn't get Troy off the field. They were close to 70% in the first half of moving the chains on third down, and obviously got the ball in the end zone. We missed 3 great opportunities for turnovers, balls that we had our hands on and couldn't make the play. And we had an opportunity for a touchdown with a wide open Jay Adams early on our first drive on offense and came away with no points, and then really just struggled from that point on through the first half on both sides. I was really proud of the defense in terms of how they responded at halftime. Came out and played maybe the 25 best minutes of football we've played defensively in quite a while to hold Troy to 127 yards and no points going into the last 5 minutes of the game where we gave up a non-offensive touchdown and put the game obviously away. And it wasn't until then that they gave up a late score with 25 seconds on the clock. So we got to build on that. We got to find some confidence from that and how we played on defense. We obviously are struggling to score points the last couple weeks on offense after having a lot of success early, and so we're going to get back to the drawing board and find some consistency there with a really tough challenge in Lafayette coming up on Saturday morning. So we obviously can't afford to keep losing games in conference play and expect to ever win a championship, and so we know that in our side of the division, Lafayette has represented us the last 2 years, and so if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and so that's our approach this week, and we'll keep working to get these guys better and improve them and grow some young guys up and see if we can get a good football team on the field. I think we're capable of that. We're just struggling to find consistency, and that's the focus for the week.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Nicole Auerbach with The Athletic. Please go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, Blake, kind of an offbeat question, but working on a story about what return to play actually looks like after, a player tests positive, and not anything specific about any individual people, but I think it's for us outside of programs, I don't think we've kind of realized how much goes into that from like a conditioning standpoint, all the things to get people ready to play in a game again. I was just wondering if you could speak to that and kind of what those protocols are and like why there is, kind of a transition period after someone's, been in a hotel room for 10 days or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lingering effect, and it's different for each guy. And I think it's also different depending on somebody that's symptomatic as opposed to asymptomatic and just what kind of toll the illness takes on their body. You have to do a great job of keeping an eye on each guy once they do come back. And I think you have to be realistic about of something that was lost in that time. You mentioned 10 to 12 or so many days that a guy is virtually getting no activity. Some of those fever, some of those losing weight, some of those with lingering symptoms, and obviously it does affect your cardiovascular system in a way that and your respiratory system in a way that you go from being maybe in the best shape of your life going into it to coming out of it and trying to manage your way through it. So, we've unfortunately had a pretty large number of guys that went through it, including staff. I can really just kind of speak personally. I know that it's been well over a month since I had it and had pretty severe symptoms, and I'm still working really hard to get my energy level, my cardio level, my endurance level back to where it was. And I think a lot of players across the country are still dealing with that. I mean, but I think it takes daily protocol, very close observation. Anything that looks out of the ordinary, you need to pull them aside and check and double check those things, and that's what we've been doing. But I think it will take into the off season before guys really get an opportunity to get back in the weight room, back on full nutrition, back to a workout program till they get back to feeling exactly the way they did before they went through, COVID, protocol.
Thank you, and hope you feel better.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Our next questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Blake.
Morning.
You talked about the offense the last couple of weeks. Are there any particular things, maybe one or two, that you've been able to put your finger on that you maybe have not done as well the last couple of weeks as you had those previous weeks when you were putting those 50-point numbers up? Yeah,
I mean, we're struggling up front a little bit. We've had some guys in and out of the roster with some injuries and other things that have kind of changed the dynamic up there a little bit. I thought we met up with a tremendously difficult task with the way App State's built up front the week before, and But this week, I thought our matchups were way more in our favor, and we still struggled. So, just trying to find some consistency up front. Too many mechanical busts, too many technical busts up front to really have a good consistent day. We have not run the ball as well as we'd like, and in a way that has forced people to play us differently than maybe they come in. In the games where you mentioned that we scored 50 and 59 points, we didn't run the ball great, but we protected well enough to create the explosive play. We caught the ball over the top, and we were very explosive, even though the running game was not exactly where we wanted. We didn't hit those 50-50 balls this week, and those really haven't been 50-50 balls for us in the past. They've been way more in our favor. That's where the points and explosive plays have come from. But we struggled with that the last couple of weeks, and the run game's not clicking, and you're not running it the way you want, and then you're not hitting the explosive throw that we were getting earlier throughout the course of the season, and you find yourself really, really frustrated. So we've got to simplify the system a little bit. We've got to move in some directions maybe to help take some pressure off the old line, try to get our best playmakers in positions where they can, move the chains for us and find some rhythm moving forward, because I think we obviously have shown that we're capable in that room. We just have not played near our best in the last couple of weeks.
One more quick question.
Yeah.
Your guys are so used to playing for conference championships and being in those games that decide division titles and so forth. How are your guys handling this, having a couple of disappointing losses the last couple of weeks?
Every team's different, every group's different, and there's a lot of guys in our room that really haven't been through that. There's a few that have, but even those years that we did, we saw our challenges throughout the year. We've lose some games early maybe, or lose a game, or have some injuries mid-season where we had to overcome. And we're trying to just focus on being better one day at a time. If that means at the end of the year we're good enough to play for it, we will. But we're just trying to find daily consistency and being the best we can be is where we're focused, and that's what the leadership on the team's trying to do as well. So they're still fighting hard. We've had great practices, even in the midst of not playing our best. The challenge is finding that way to get that to the field and getting the first one. You get the first one, you can always build that into two.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now joined with Matt Viator, the head coach of ULM. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Yeah, congratulations to App State. They got a really good team and came in here and just really impressed with what they do and how they do it, and the job that Coach Clark has done, I think, is really impressive. I thought our kids played really hard, and we certainly had chances, especially in the first half. We had chances to be in it and stayed in it a while, and just didn't have didn't quite make enough plays or to be able to match what they do. But they have a really good football team. I'm excited to go to Georgia State. I think another team that has a really good team. Obviously didn't play their best last week, but if you look at the whole year and what they've done, and just really been impressive. We're impressed with the quarterback. I think he's done a tremendous job, and coming in and gives them the ability to to throw it and run it. He just adds another dimension to what they're doing. And the running backs have always ran hard. I've always liked their offensive line. It seems like they have the same guys back this year. And then Pickney's a really good wide out, and they do a good job of using their tight ends. Defensively, same Georgia State, gonna move a lot out of their odd front, and gives us problems. They just move a lot up front. I think everything starts with their linemen, up front, and trying to be able to, somehow handle those guys. And then, but it's a tough chore because they're talented and they move a lot. So, good opportunity for us to go to Georgia State, and looking forward to it.
Thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
Doing well. You talked about y'all had, it seemed like, opportunities in the first half especially, and weren't able to fully cash in on those. I mean, how, is that just the recurring theme, is you've had your chances and just hadn't been able to really take advantage when they've been there?
Yeah, I mean, sort of, it's been different things, Dan, different players, so it's just, yeah, I mean, I thought we had, some chances, obviously, early in the game, and, I mean, at least to put a lot of pressure on them, but like I said, unfortunately, we just didn't make them. But, yeah, I mean, that seems, like it has been a theme for sure. I mean, we're trying to focus on, what we can do to help them, but, yeah, it does seem like that, certainly the last few weeks, I mean, we've certainly had some chances, and we just haven't been able to make the plays that we needed to.
Georgia State's had some explosive offensive games, but then they got pretty well shut down. What can your defense take from that game that Georgia State played last week after they looked at it?
Well, I think, that when I watched the tape and watched a little of it live, I kind of felt for them, because anytime you fall behind early, it just kind of totally, in my opinion, kind of changes what you're doing, and you try to coach yourself up, just to get first downs and do. But, I mean, I think that's really what affected, obviously Coastal's a really good team, but I think that affected their offense. I mean, when they got behind that quick, they had a good first drive and then hit the upright on the field goal, and then, they got behind, turned it over, got behind, and before you know it, I mean, they were down 21-0. I mean, quick. And it just seemed like after that, Dan, they never really got in a rhythm. But if you look at the previous games, however, I thought, whether it was against the Cajuns or whether it was against Arkansas State or East Carolina or Troy, whoever they were playing, I mean, they've been really good. And so that's the team that we expect to see.
You had a really special talented quarterback in Caleb Evans for a while. I know he's just a freshman, but does some of the things that Quan Brown for Georgia State do sort of remind you of some of the things that Caleb did?
He does. I think that he's a great athlete that is going to develop. I mean, you see him, I think, week after week. I think they're doing a really good job of, developing him as far as the pocket and, doing things in the pocket. So I think definitely some similarities, takes plays and aren't really there and, make something great out of them. And so, yeah, I definitely see some similarities. And I just see a tremendously talented, young man that brings a lot to the table.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. We're going to stand by. We'll be back with Billy Napier of Louisiana here shortly. Please stand by. All right, thank you for holding, everybody. We're now joined with Billy Napier, the head coach of Louisiana. If you have a question for Coach, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Well, it's November, and certainly if you're in contention, this is a critical time of the year. I know for us, we're changing gears and moving into Tier 3. I do think that Saturday was a solid win for our team. I know we weren't the consensus amongst the players was that we weren't 100% pleased with a lot, of the game, but we did do a lot of things well. We got takeaways on defense. We had 600 yards and on offense. I do think that we're penalties on defense that we need to do a better job in decision making and technique, and certainly the turnovers on special teams and offense are inexcusable. And really the same thing, communication and also fundamentals. So, good win, and certainly a lot of the credit to Texas State. I do think they're improving under Coach Spavital in his second year. But a good day, 1-0 in the West, and certainly a big challenge this week in a rivalry game against Arkansas State, who has tremendous personnel. always have done a really good job over there under Blake, and he'll have his team ready to play. Like years past, it's November, and it's time to play our best football. So we got work to do. We're a work in progress, and still working hard to get better. So what questions do we have?
All right, thank you, Coach. Our first questions come from Dan McDonald, the Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. Your guys jump out, and you're up 14-0 almost before people get set down well, but suddenly turn around and Texas State scored 3 straight times. What does it say about your guys is that they were able to just continue on? There was no panic, and they ended up scoring, I think, 3 straight times right there toward the end of the half.
Well, I think that, we started here a couple of years ago working hard on making the other team earn it, and I don't necessarily think we did that at times after the 14-0 start. We got takeaways, we got stops on defense, we turned that into points, and then we proceeded to have a barrage of 15-yard penalties on defense. We give up a fake field goal. We muff a shark punt situation, and then all of a sudden, they have scored 3 times and they're ahead of the game. So we've got to do a much better job playing with poise, playing with discipline, making better choices and decisions, using the right techniques, communicating better, and I think we can eliminate some of those issues. But I think our guys understand why things are going well and why things are going bad, and they know how to fix it. So you got to admire that about our players. I think they are tough-minded. They can handle adversity, and hopefully that'll prove to be something that will benefit us in the future, like it's benefited us in the past.
Khalif Gossett had an acrobatic catch for a touchdown. You're starting to get your wide receiver core back. Some of the guys getting back healthy, and some of the guys really stepping up. How key is that for you with Levi? We threw up over 300 yards this past week.
Well, I think it's been one of the reasons why I think we sputtered a little bit on offense. We had going all the way back to training camp before you guys obviously were covering our team. We've just had a revolving door there because of injuries, COVID-19, whatever that may be. So we've had to play some inexperienced players. Some of our veteran players have been injured, but we're benefiting a little bit because some of these rookies are starting to get comfortable on game day as competitors are learning how to practice. They're learning that in-season routine, and they're developing some confidence. I think the big thing here is Levi is developing some trust and continuity with that group, and that's going to help us going forward. You can see the improvement week to week. We're going to need to be able to play with balance and throw the ball around the park each and every week going forward.
What are some of the things you see from Arkansas State? They have not played as well, I know, as they would have liked, offensively or defensively, the last couple of weeks, but this game's always been a war between you and them.
Yeah, none of that really matters, what's happened in the past. You can throw out the records and the stats. Blake's a good coach. He'll have his team ready to play. And, much like many teams across the country this year, I feel, like our team could play much better. I'm sure he feels the same way. But we respect what we see on the tape. They've got an identity on all 3 phases. Certainly good personnel and lots of height, length, explosive players. We're going to have to be at our best and try to play our best football here on Saturday.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And we are now joined with Chip Lindsey, the head coach of Troy. If you have a question for Coach Lindsey, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get in the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Thank you for being here. Obviously for us, a big win on the road in conference. Anytime you can get a win on the road in conference play, I think that's obviously something that's big time, and really proud of how our guys went out, handled that, and I thought we played one of our most complete games this year, all the way around, offense, defense, special teams. Defensively, I thought did an outstanding job limiting a really explosive offense from what we had seen, and I thought we did a great job taking away from them what they really like to do, and really tackling well. Created another turnover for a touchdown, which is always huge. Offensively, I thought we were solid, not great. Still got a lot of work to do, but thought Jacob Free did an outstanding job of really making plays and executing the offense like we wanted it done for this week. And then special teams, again, I thought we were very solid there as well. Made our field goals and extra points, handled all the different looks they present you with kickoff and punts, and really executed our kickoff plan as well. So, overall, very, very happy to get a win on the road. Still a lot of things that we can get better at, but at the same time, we took a step in definitely the right direction, and we got to have that same approach this week. Obviously, we're going to play another good football team on the road. So excited for our guys, and looking forward to getting started today. Questions?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Coach. Your first questions come from Dan McDonald with The Advocate. Please go ahead, Dan.
Morning, Coach. Your team got off to a hot start. That first half against Arkansas State, is that maybe the best y'all have played, offense, defense combined, since I guess maybe going all the way back to the opener against Middle?
You know what? I think so. I mean, I think, when I thought we played our most complete game as a team, and really played off of each other very well from the standpoint of, offense, defense, special teams kind of all playing together. It was a really good start for us. We had a little bit of a lull there, maybe in the third quarter, from offensive standpoint, but the defense and special teams hung in there. And I definitely think it was one of our most complete games that definitely we've played this year, and hopefully that's something we'll continue to do. That's kind of what we talk about all the time is playing good football. Good football still wins, and that's on all three phases, and that's something definitely that we're striving to do each and every week.
Can you talk about Free's improvement at quarterback? For lack of a better term, looked like he was playing free on Saturday.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, you know what? I thought he, when he came in against Georgia State, thought he handled that very well. All of a sudden, just being thrown into the spotlight. And this week, sometimes guys, when they know they're going to be the starter and they have to prepare that way all week, it gives them too much time to think about it. And sometimes it's better just to be thrown in there. But I really liked the way he prepared all week. I thought we did a solid job as a staff of giving him the things that he liked, the things he felt comfortable with that fit what we were trying to do against Arkansas State. And then at the end of the day, though, he had to go out and execute. I thought he went out and played with confidence. And I think from his standpoint, he took a step in the right direction from a decision-making standpoint. Didn't put a lot of balls in jeopardy. Really made good, solid decisions and took what they gave us for the most part. And I definitely think he's continuing to grow. You got to remember he hasn't played really in 2 years before last week. So for him, I think he's still knocking off some rust, so to speak. But hopefully we'll have the same kind of preparation and execution this week.
How difficult is it to get prepared for an offense that's so different than what Georgia Southern runs and what you faced some this year?
Yeah, very difficult. I mean, I think that's what makes those guys unique and who they are is a whole different style, and we have to do a great job on first down of trying to make sure we keep these guys from getting in second medium, second short, or third and short because, they're too good at running the football to let them do that, and it'll limit how many possessions you get and so forth. So I thought last year we did a great job of, executing early and scoring a couple touchdowns and put those guys probably in where they're playing a little bit of catch up. And, it's one of those games, obviously, on the road and all the things that go along with that. We can't let them kind of get in their comfort zone. We got to try to make them uncomfortable. And maybe we can get a couple turnovers here and there, although they're pretty good with that because of what they do. But it's definitely something we're talking about for sure.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you. And we are now joined with Shawn Elliott, the head coach of Georgia State. If you have a question for Coach Elliott, please dial *1 on your phone at this time. Again, *1 to get the queue. Coach, thank you for joining us today. Would you mind starting us off with the opening statement?
Certainly. Good afternoon. Let's start it off by saying it may be one of the worst Halloweens I've ever experienced in my life. Our game on Saturday certainly didn't turn out the way we had anticipated, and had a lot to do with a very good Coastal Carolina football team, but we were all out of sorts for whatever reason. From the very first snap of the football game on our kickoff return to our first play from our offensive scrimmage to our into our defensive setup on a punt return right there on a 4th down. It just really didn't start out well, and it certainly didn't end well. But we've got to move on very quickly for a ULM team that's set to arrive here on Friday and get ready to play a ball game on Saturday at 12. So, we've got to bounce back. That's a hard shot that we took from Coastal Carolina. They certainly came in here and just dominated every facet of the game. All 3 phases, they came in here and completely handled us. And we've got to move on very quickly and get back to business and kind of wash that thing away. When you have a game like that, it's hard to get it out of your system very quickly. So we're going to have to do our very best and then get ready for ULM. But it starts with myself and our coaching staff, down through our players, and, turning this thing back around very, very quickly and making sure we can come out with a better game plan this Saturday against Louisiana Monroe.
Thank you, Coach. First questions come from Stan Autry with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Please go ahead, Stan.
Hey, Shawn. You talked about trying to get this bad taste out of your mouth. How did the players react when they came back to practice, and what do you see from them that maybe indicated they were ready to move on?
Well, it's just Monday. It's not like we've been at practice for a couple of days now. We don't practice on Sunday, so. And to tell you the truth, it was an embarrassment how we performed out there. And I think every single one of us stood in that meeting this morning before heading out on that field, and we all took ownership of it, every last one of us. From our players to our staff to each individual coach to myself. We all knew that it was not a good day for us. And the one thing I wanted to make sure we all understood that it was on all of our shoulders. There was no finger pointing and saying one particular unit let the other down. And once we can shoulder the load, we can all certainly understand where we are, and then we can move forward. So we had to do that and then get it out of our system and then go out here. And we had a little bit of an elongated Monday practice because we're going to be off for tomorrow's election day. And we're just looking forward to getting back on the field. We can't get back on the field soon enough. I wish we were playing ULM today at 1 o'clock. I really do. I really do. I wish, when that game ended on Saturday, if we could have lined them back up and went back out there and played them again, I certainly would have wanted to do that just to get it out of our system and try to move forward. But that's what we got to do. We got to move forward.
Well, this week, you guys have been so good on the opening drive, and even last week you went down, even though there were some problems, you went down and had a field goal. How important is it to come out and reestablish that right off the bat again this week?
Oh, you've got to. Our opening drive was exactly what we anticipated. We did everything we wanted to. We even right there before attempting the field goal on our 3rd down. We had a little missed assignment right there. Had it been a 4th and 2 scenario, we were going for the 4th and 2 and continually to try to move the ball and score on that opening possession. But when we didn't get but 1 yard and we faced a 4th and 4, we decided to kick it. And, I'm for one not for kicking a whole lot of field goals, but I thought we had the leg to do it, and it just bounced right off the goalpost. But, we're going to do that. We're going to come out and we're going to try to establish the offensive game plan on our first possession each and every week, and it didn't work out that way this past Saturday, and kind of snowballed from there.
Well, an old coach once told me you're never as good as you look on the great days, you're never as bad as you are on the bad days. So that's something I guess you can take away.
I can promise you, I've been around long enough to know exactly how that is, and that is a true statement. Whoever said that sure does know what they're talking about.
Paul Johnson's the last one I heard say it, so there you go. It's a good source.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, Shawn.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dan. Our next questions come from Brady Weiler with ThursdayNight.com. Please go ahead, Brady.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Now that you've got a chance to have looked at the game, the offense hasn't really looked like that since Coach Glenn got here. What was it that Coastal's defense was doing to kind of grind to a halt?
You know, Coastal's a fine defensive football team, and they had a lot to do with it. We were out of sorts. I mean, we take the field on our opening possession in the very first play. We run out there to set a formation. We set it wrong and have to adjust from there. And I don't know. I mean, I wish I could pinpoint one particular thing other than being a very good defense. But, you know, we just weren't ourselves. I mean, we just were not ourselves. I mean, if you look at the whole day, I mean, we're going back there, and, of course, the sun was a little bit of an issue on our kickoff returns, but we let 3 kickoff returns drop right in front of us, and just craziness. I mean, I don't – it's hard to really pinpoint. I mean, I don't care if it had been the New York Giants to go out there and line up. I feel like we could have went down there and taken possession and scored, but it just didn't happen for us Saturday. But we're gonna correct it. We're gonna get our mental focus back there. I think physically we're in fine shape. So you know, we've got to clear the spider webs out of our head and move on to this Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brady. And our next questions come from Ben Moore with 24/7 Sports. Please go ahead, Ben.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Hey.
You mentioned in the press conference you seemed like there were some communication issues, and I know they were on the field with both offense, defense, even kind of some special teams. Came up in the Arkansas State game as well. Is that something you guys have talked about, and whether it's just signaling in the plays or just communicating on the field? I know you have referenced that a few times this season.
Yeah, you know, I mean, that first it was their first 4th down situation right there, and we're signaling for a punt return unit to get on there, and then there's a problem where we're asking for our base defense to stay on there at the same time. So the communications was certainly a problem on that, allowing us or allowing them to have an opportunity to look at a 4th down play when I had to call timeout without having too many men on the field. That was certainly a situation that came up in the Arkansas State game that shouldn't have happened. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, our defense should have been held on the field. We should have been in a safe look and had them punt the football. But because of a communication problem, we had guys running on the field and running off, which certainly was an issue for us, allowed them to take time to look at a 4th down play. And that's the second opportunity that someone has had to put a touchdown in there on a 4th down play when we should have had a stop. So that's very, very disappointing that we've got corrected. And it should have been corrected before that.
And a question about the secondary. I know they've been had some ups and downs certainly lately. I know Coastal took advantage a few times with some of the coverage there. Do you anticipate any kind of changes with either personnel or just looks there with some of the coverage there in the back third?
Yeah, you know, you got to look at all situations. When it's a consistent thing that's happening there, you have to question, you know, whether it's your scheme or your personnel. So we've got to look at both of those things and ask ourselves, how are we going to improve? You certainly can't let those situations happen as easily as they've been happening. And it's a definite concern. I mean, it certainly is. So we're going to look at both of those instances and see if we can communicate better or get some better personnel or have a better scheme out there.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ben. And thanks, Coach. We do appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. This concludes this week's teleconference. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us. A copy of this will be posted on Sunbelt Conference's website later today. We hope everyone has a great week and safe travels for those of you on the road. Thank you for joining us. 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 Thank you for joining us.